All right, let's get right into it. We've all seen the headlines, the explosions, the chaos. But what if I told you that behind this storm of conflict in the Middle East, a major player has been holding back its single most devastating weapon? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on Iran's final and, frankly, terrifying last card. You know, when this latest conflict kicked off, it really looked like Iran was throwing everything it had at the wall. We saw ballistic missiles lighting up the night sky, swarms of drones buzzing across the region, and proxies like Hezbollah getting their marching orders. They even made moves on the Strait of Hormuz. It looked like an all-out push to hit the global economy right where it hurts. But here's the thing. For all that unprecedented escalation, if you think Tehran has emptied its entire toolbox, you'd be making a huge mistake. Because there is one terrifying card still left on the table, a weapon of fire and chaos that hasn't been fully played. Not even close. And no, we're not talking about some hidden missile silo or a sleeper cell somewhere. We are talking about an entire front. A strategic asset so powerful, so well defended, that it's been deliberately kept in reserve. This is the break glass in case of emergency option for the final, most desperate moments of a war. That ace up their sleeve? It's Yemen. More specifically, the Houthi-controlled front. It is, and I don't say this lightly, the region's ultimate nightmare scenario, just waiting for a single command to be unleashed upon the world.
So you're probably asking, what makes this one front so uniquely dangerous? Well, it all comes down to two things: geography and years of preparation. You see, unlike other Iranian proxies, the Houthis are dug into Yemen's incredibly rugged, mountainous terrain. They operate from this insane network of deep tunnels and fortified caves, literally housing entire missile cities underground, shielded from even the most powerful bunker-busting bombs. And all that, combined with their distance from the main conflict zone, makes them just incredibly difficult to stop.
But their real power, their true leverage, comes from where they are on the map. The Houthis are sitting right at the edge of one of the most critical maritime choke points on the entire planet. This gives them the power to literally hold the global economy hostage. And this is where you see this terrifying strategic pincer move come into play. Look, the world already loses sleep over Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz. But imagine the Houthis shutting down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait at the exact same time. Suddenly, all of the Gulf's oil exports are completely trapped. There's no sea route out. It's a move that would effectively just strangle the economies of Europe and Asia. The stakes here are just astronomical. We're talking about over $1 trillion in global trade passing through the Bab el-Mandeb every single year. A full blockade wouldn't just be a little disruption, it would be an absolute global catastrophe. And a move like that would trigger an immediate, worldwide energy crisis. Think about it. Nearly 7 million barrels of oil and gas go through the strait every day. Shutting off that tap would send energy prices skyrocketing to levels we can't even imagine, and it would destabilize markets all across the globe. So this begs the question, right? If this weapon is so incredibly powerful, why has Iran kept it in its back pocket? Why hold back this hell button until the absolute last second? Well, the answer gets to the very core of their strategy. It is all about brinkmanship. The Yemen front is Iran's ultimate insurance policy. It's the sword they keep hanging over the world's neck, not to use, but as a deterrent. It's meant to be played only at the moment they feel the regime itself is facing a final, existential knockout blow. This one phrase just captures the entire mentality perfectly. The thinking is, in that moment of ultimate crisis, when Tehran feels its back is completely against the wall, the plan is to just flip the whole table and set the entire region on fire. It's a strategy born from a chillingly simple calculation. But of course, Iran and the Houthis aren't playing this game in a vacuum. The other major powers, both in the region and around the world, are acutely aware of this threat. And believe me, they have their own countermoves ready on this global chessboard. For starters, Washington and Tel Aviv see this Yemen nightmare scenario as an absolute top priority. They maintain a constantly updated list of Houthi targets, from leadership to weapons depots. Then you've got Saudi Arabia and the UAE, who have serious military assets already inside Yemen, including well-armed Yemeni factions just waiting for the green light. And you absolutely cannot forget Egypt. For them, any blockade of the Bab el-Mandeb is a direct threat to the Suez Canal and to their own national security. There's no way they're just going to stand by and watch that happen. Which brings us right to where we are now. this incredibly tense, fragile standoff. You have all these players cautiously maneuvering on the edge of an abyss, each one flexing their muscles, but terrified of what happens if a real, full-scale war breaks out.
Because the simple truth is, a major escalation is in nobody's interest. Washington does not want a global economic collapse on its hands. Tel Aviv knows a multi-front war would be draining beyond belief. The Gulf states want, more than anything, stability for economic growth. And look, even Tehran doesn't actually want to commit suicide. They know a direct, all-out war probably means the end of the regime.
So here's the bottom line. In an all-out war, everybody loses. Period. Each side is playing this incredibly dangerous game of deterrence, drawing their own red lines and just praying the other side blinks first. So in a game with no winners, where one slip-up could trigger Armageddon, how does it possibly end?
And that leaves us with a truly terrifying reality. Every single major power in this conflict is standing right on the precipice, knowing full well that one wrong step, one tiny miscalculation could unleash a conflict that burns everyone, leaving no victor standing in the ashes.